If you're ready to ditch those embarrassing deer in the headlights moments when trying to speak English, well, you've come to the right place.
You know I've definitely been there.
Oh, yeah. We're about to take a deep dive into some super practical tips from the Learn English Podcast YouTube channel. And trust me, they're all about transforming those English fears into fluent cheers.
I love that video.
Me too.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stood out to me was how much they stressed the importance of starting small.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's like that classic saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But they actually gave a scientific reason for why this is so effective.
Oh, right. They talked about Carl White and his research
Exactly.
on the Zeigarnik effect.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty cool, actually.
Mm.
It turns out our brains tend to remember unfinished tasks way more than finished ones.
Oh, wow.
Almost like an itch you need to scratch, you know?
Yeah.
So by breaking down your English learning into these manageable chunks, you're kind of tapping into your brain's natural wiring to stay motivated and on track.
That's fascinating. It's like hacking your own brain for language learning success. So instead of being intimidated by this huge goal of mastering English, you focus on nailing a greeting, ordering your coffee confidently, just asking for directions.
Right. And each of those little victories actually triggers dopamine, a neurotransmitter that's associated with pleasure and reward. So it creates this positive feedback loop.
Ah, so you actually want to keep learning.
Exactly. And it ties in perfectly with another crucial point they make. Embracing mistakes as friends, not foes.
Yes, and this is where things get so interesting because they brought up Robert and Elizabeth Bohr, who found that making mistakes actually strengthens learning.
It does sound a bit counterintuitive at first.
It does. But apparently our brains learn better when we make and then correct errors. It's like we're highlighting the important information.
Right. When we stumble, our brains are forced to pay attention, figure out what went wrong, and then find the solution. This problem-solving process really cements that correct information into our memory.
And they shared this amazing story about the longest fan fiction ever written in English, written by a non-native speaker.
Oh, I love that anecdote.
It shows that you don't have to be perfect to be fluent.
Absolutely. Fluency doesn't mean speaking flawlessly. It's about communicating your ideas, expressing yourself, even if you make a few mistakes along the way.
So we've got start small and embrace mistakes. What other gems jumped out at you?
Well, I think their point about active listening is often overlooked. Everyone focuses on speaking, but listening is such a crucial part of developing fluency.
Yeah, you're not just trying to understand the words, right? You're
Yeah.
absorbing how those words are spoken, the rhythm, the intonation, the whole flow.
Precisely. When you actively listen to native speakers, whether it's podcasts, movies, even just casual conversations, you're unconsciously picking up on these subtle elements of spoken English.
It's like osmosis for language learning.
Exactly. It's not just about the words, it's about how they're delivered.
The pauses, the emphasis, everything.
Everything. And speaking of flow, they introduced this concept of learning in chunks, which I think can be a game changer for a lot of people.
So instead of memorizing individual words, you focus on phrases and groups of words that naturally occur together.
Like, how's it going? Or, see you later. Even something like, I'm running late. These chunks reflect how we actually speak, so you sound more natural and fluent. And they're easier to remember because they have context and meaning, unlike a single word floating around in your head.
And I love how they even connect this to practical tools like language learning apps, like Duolingo for building vocab and HelloTalk for chatting with native speakers and trying out those chunks in real conversation.
Right. They also suggested BBC Learning English and Elsa Speak, which are great for focusing on listening and pronunciation. Those are crucial for mastering those chunks and sounding more confident.
This is so great. Honestly, I'm already feeling more motivated and less intimidated.
Me too. They break it down into manageable, even enjoyable steps.
And they emphasize it's not a solo journey, right? Finding a speaking partner can be so helpful.
It's like having a gym buddy for your English.
Yeah.
You've got support, accountability, and it makes practice less scary. You can try new things, get feedback, and even laugh together at the inevitable slip-ups.
Which, let's be honest, learning a new language can be tough. Having someone to share those challenges, celebrate wins, and laugh with along the way, that can make a world of difference.
For sure. It turns it from a solitary struggle into more of a shared adventure, which is way more motivating and rewarding.
And speaking of feeling good about your progress, they had some great advice on celebrating those wins and addressing that common fear of accents.
Yeah, I really connected with their message about owning your unique voice.
Yeah.
It's about embracing your accent as part of who you are, not seeing it as a barrier.
Right, they totally flipped the script on the whole perfect native-like accent
It
thing.
did.
They pointed out that accents contribute to the richness of the English language and make it more vibrant and interesting.
Absolutely.
Ah,
It would be so boring if everyone spoke with the same exact accent.
seriously. And they reassured listeners that effective communication is what matters, not sounding like you just stepped out of a Hollywood movie.
Right. It's about getting your message across clearly and confidently. They encouraged listeners to think of their accent as their unique signature, adding personality and flair to their spoken English.
I love that. It's about celebrating the beauty of diversity, not striving for some impossible standard of perfection, and it ties into the idea of celebrating those small wins and rewarding yourself along the way.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that every step forward, even a tiny one, is a victory.
So whether it's nailing a new word, having a conversation without freezing up, or just feeling more confident, take a moment to appreciate your progress. You deserve a pat on the back.
Oh, yeah. And don't be afraid to get creative with those rewards. Treat yourself to something you enjoy, your favorite snack, maybe listen to an English song you love, even just take a break and enjoy that feeling of accomplishment.
Those small rewards really do add up. They help you stay motivated and avoid burnout. It's all about making the journey enjoyable.
Exactly. And talk about making things enjoyable, the video introduces this fascinating technique called shadowing.
Oh, yeah. I'm so curious about that.
Yeah, so it's a technique where you can really immerse yourself in the rhythm and flow of spoken English by mimicking native speakers.
Oh, so you're kind of like their shadow and following their every word and intonation. The first time I tried this, I felt like I was stepping into someone else's shoes, linguistically speaking.
That's such a great way to put it. You're essentially training your ears and your mouth to sync up with the patterns of authentic English speech. And the best part is you can do it with any content you enjoy.
Right. They recommended movies, podcasts, or YouTube videos, anything that keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
They even said to start with just 10 minutes a day.
Exactly. That's what makes shadowing so great. It's super accessible and flexible. Squeeze in a quick session during your commute or while you're doing chores, even relaxing at home.
And all those little practice sessions really add up, leading to big improvements in pronunciation, rhythm, even intonation.
Yeah, it's all about consistency rather than intensity. By making shadowing a regular habit, you're kind of rewiring your brain to produce those natural English sounds more effortlessly.
It's like developing muscle memory for your speaking skills. And the more you do it, the more automatic and effortless it becomes.
Absolutely.
Speaking of feeling more effortless, they also talked about prioritizing fluency over perfection, which I think can be a real struggle for a lot of learners.
Oh, for sure. It's so easy to get caught up in trying to speak perfect textbook English. But the truth is, even native speakers make mistakes all the time.
Oh, yeah, all the time. They stumble over words, use slang, sometimes even forget grammar rules.
Totally.
The point of communication isn't to be perfect, it's about connecting with others and expressing yourself authentically.
Exactly. It's about embracing those imperfections and focusing on getting your message across in a way that's engaging and clear.
They really drove home the point that fluency isn't about never making mistakes, but being able to keep going, recover smoothly from those little slip-ups, and maintain the flow of conversation.
Right. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll become with those inevitable stumbles. You'll learn to laugh them off, maybe correct yourself quickly, and just keep the conversation moving.
Like learning to ride a bike, you might fall a few times, but eventually you find your balance and you're off, gliding effortlessly.
Exactly. Which brings us to the final key takeaway. Making learning fun and engaging.
Yes?
This is where it gets really exciting because it's about using your own passions and interests to fuel your English learning journey.
I love that. They had so many creative ideas for how to weave English into things you already enjoy doing.
Whoa.
So like if you're a movie buff, try watching with English subtitles or even switch to the original audio.
Oh, if you love music, try listening to English songs and figuring out the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's incredible how much vocab and grammar you can absorb just by enjoying music.
And for all the bookworms out there, why not challenge yourself with an English novel or even just a magazine article? The key is to find something that piques your curiosity and makes you want to keep learning.
Yeah, and they talked about this fascinating concept called Krashen's input hypothesis. Basically, it suggests that we learn languages best when we're exposed to input that we can mostly understand, but that also challenges us a little bit.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where you're enjoying yourself, but also actively engaging with the language.
Exactly. It's like a mental workout for your English skills. And the more you immerse yourself, the more naturally you'll absorb it. Kind of like that osmosis we were talking about with listening.
So it's not just about formal study sessions, textbooks, and grammar drills. It's about creating an English-rich environment around you in everyday life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether it's reading news articles in English, chatting with native speakers online, or even playing video games in English, finding ways to incorporate it into your hobbies and interests can make a world of difference.
It turns learning from a chore into a journey of discovery and fun.
Totally.
Like they say, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
And that actually leads perfectly into our next point, which builds on this idea of finding joy in the learning process.
Hmm.
It's about celebrating those wins, no matter how small.
Yeah, they're small wins.
Even just acknowledging the progress you're making and those moments of growth,
Right.
whether it's mastering a tricky pronunciation or finally having a conversation without freezing up, or even just feeling more comfortable expressing yourself in English.
Yeah, just that boost of confidence.
Exactly. Each one of those is a reason to celebrate.
It is, and the celebrations don't have to be a huge thing.
No, not at all.
It can be as simple as enjoying a nice cup of tea while you listen to your favorite English podcast, or treating yourself to a movie night with English subtitles,
Oh, yeah.
or even just taking a moment to reflect on how far you've come and appreciate your own dedication.
Absolutely. Those little rewards can be so powerful. They really help to reinforce the positive feelings you associate with learning English, making it much more likely that you'll stick with it and keep making progress.
It's all about turning the journey into a fun experience rather than a chore.
Exactly. Find
Right.
that sweet spot where learning feels like an adventure,
I like that.
not a struggle.
Yeah.
And I think all of these insights from the video really highlight a bigger truth about language learning.
Okay.
It's not about having some innate talent or being gifted.
Yeah.
It really comes down to consistent effort, a positive mindset, and just a willingness to embrace the whole journey.
The ups and downs.
Exactly, the stumbles and all.
And seeing those mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow.
Precisely, and celebrating those victories, big or small, because every step forward, no matter how tiny, is bringing you closer to that goal of speaking English confidently and fluently.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away today?
For me, it's that feeling of empowerment. Just realizing that becoming a confident English speaker is totally achievable.
It is.
It's not about finding some magic formula or a shortcut.
Yeah.
It's about those small steps, that consistency, a positive attitude, and finding the joy in the journey.
I love that.
And never forget, your accent is a part of you. It's part of your story.
Mm-hmm.
It makes your voice unique and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid to let it shine through.
I love that, embracing your own unique voice and to kind of keep that momentum going. I like to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What's one small action you can take today to get a little bit closer to your goal? It could be anything from downloading a language learning app to watching a 5-minute video in English, or even just striking up a conversation with a native speaker, even if it's just a quick hello.
Exactly. Every action, no matter how small, moves you in the right direction. So what will yours be?
We'd love to hear your answers in the comments below and keep this conversation going.
Yeah, let us know.
We're here to support you every step of the way.
Happy learning, everyone.
Until next time, keep those English fears turning into cheers.